They say every day is for the thief, one day for the owner of the house. But ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, has reversed the role. It is now every day for the owner of the house. If you're involved in bribery, over-invoicing, or any shady deal, the day of reckoning has come. ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, is watching you. If you're reported for any corrupt practice, you'll be investigated, prosecuted, and punished. Corruption is harmful to our nation. Join the campaign against it by reporting any corrupt practice to ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Let we join hands with ICPC, make them better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they want you.
Come on, hand for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
The need for moral renaissance as a strategy for combating corruption in order to set Nigeria on the path of sustainable development cannot be overemphasized. This formed the fulcrum of the recently concluded 6th National Policy Dialogue, which was convoked by the Anti-Corruption Academy of Nigeria, the research and training arm of ICPC at the Commission's headquarters in Abuja. Welcome to Corruption Must Go, ICPC's weekly television program. I am your host, Murna Barnabas Atiayi. Today on the program, we shall beam our searchlight on the just concluded policy dialogue, which had the theme, Corruption, Social Norms and Behavioral Change in Nigeria. Stay with us.
Fellow Nigerians, do you know that constituency projects are actually your projects? Do you know that constituency projects are funded by the federal government? Do you know that you can track release of constituency project funds for projects located in your constituency and follow up to know how they have been executed? Constituency projects happen because government does not want to leave any community out in development efforts. You have a responsibility to know what constituency project has been planned for your community, how much has been allocated for it, and whether value for money has been delivered. Take ownership of constituency projects located in your community. Protect them because they belong to you. Government knows about your needs and is planning for you. Government needs your help to ensure quality delivery. Know that constituency projects are actually your projects. Protect your constituency project. My constituency, my project.
For information on funds allocated to projects in your constituency, call 0800 2255 4272.
This message is from the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission and the National Orientation Agency.
If you're just tuning in, this is Corruption Must Go. In his welcome remark during the policy dialogue, the ICPC chairman, Professor Bolaji Owasonye, SAN, underscored the importance of the theme, saying that the emergence and pervasive spread of corruption-inducing social norms across all ethnic nationalities and religious divides was worrisome, thereby threatening the foundation of our values and norms. Professor Owasonye stated that over the years, the law and order approach has dominated the activities of the anti-corruption agencies, noting, however, that that is not sufficient, as it needs to be complemented with some self or group regulatory mechanisms to achieve the desired behavioral change, both in government and society. Take a listen.
The timing of this particular policy dialogue on corruption, social norms, and behavior change could not have come at a better time when the foundation of our social values and norms has become seriously threatened. Indeed, a lot of changes are taking place across the wider Nigerian society, but very worrisome to us is the emergence of pervasive spread of corruption-inducing social norms. Corruption-inducing social norms, which means without those social norms, those who are implicated or who are pressured might have tread or taken a different path or trajectory. Despite widespread cultural and religious perceptions of corruption as a negation of societal value. A survey that was carried out by ACAN ICPC in 2020 revealed that corruption amongst public servants is enabled by community ambivalence towards the proceeds of corruption. In other words, communities don't ask any questions. They just accept what you bring. For example, as high as 69% of public servants that we surveyed indicated that their community would accept monetary gifts above their annual salary without questioning the source of the money. Corruption is therefore fueled by community expectations of people who are in public office. There's, for example, a general belief that groups, networks, and communities expect the holder of a public office to confer benefit from or benefit of office on the members of the community, regardless of whether those benefits are corrupt practices in themselves or if the benefits come from the proceeds of crime or corruption. There is the common expectation that people in high office should donate huge sums of money at public functions, irrespective of what is your salary. Lastly, it is generally expected that government officials should enrich and/or confer benefits on themselves from their office. Although the law and order approach is necessary to curb corruption, it is not sufficient, as it has to be complemented with some form of self or group regulatory mechanisms to achieve the desired behavior change in both the government and the society. This is where a discussion of corruption, social norms, and behavior change becomes critically relevant.
You're still watching Corruption Must Go, and our focus is on the 6th National Policy Dialogue on Corruption, Social Norms and Behavioral Change in Nigeria. Speaking at the event, the keynote speaker, Professor Tony Falola of the Department of History, University of Texas at Austin, United States of America, explained that the most effective way of addressing issues of corruption is to focus on transforming behaviors and fostering a culture of integrity and accountability, which requires active participation from individuals across all sectors. Let's hear him.
Most Nigerians are not corrupt. Let us make that very clear. If you show me one bad Nigerian, I will show you 5 good ones. And it's important to make this point because it means what we are trying to do is attainable. In other words, we can fulfill our wish because the majority of our population are actually not corrupt. Corruption is a function of access and scale. If you don't have access to money, there's no money to steal. Now you can have the desire, you can say, may God let it be your turn. You know, there's nothing God cannot do. But what God is not going to do are so many. In history, corrupt societies transform themselves. They transform themselves. So it's not as if they did not start like us. And it's not as if they did not have the problems we're talking. Japan, aristocrats of the 19th century, behave exactly as the people we criticize today. The Nagasaki, Kawasaki, Suzuki, in which they were doing exactly what is making us sad today. But they transformed themselves in the 20th century. The corrupt aristocrats of the 19th century transformed themselves into an agency of progress in the 20th century. So the question, are they going to transform themselves? Or are we going to transform them? political parties and the politicians lack the capacity to transform themselves, the silent majority has to transform them. If we transform them, they cannot predict the consequences. And the consequences may become uncontrollable. That every corruption has a model. It must have a model. The West is corrupt, and if anybody tells you America is not corrupt, that is not telling the truth. That's not correct. But what it does is to create a corporate elite model of corruption. In a corporate elite model of production, you must produce, you must deliver with competence and efficiency, because we can steal a certain amount of money.
Making a remark at the event, Africa Director, MacArthur Foundation, Dr. Kole Shetima, stated that the foundation was happy to work with the Commission on the project, especially as a lot had been done concerning law and order with less attention on social norms, which he said is as important as the law.
I think we thought that our work around corruption primarily has penciled around law and order, but we are not paying attention to social norms and behavior. And that is why the foundation felt strongly that we need to establish a good track of work around social norms and behaviors. We are happy to support ICPC, but we also support a number of work that we are doing around social norms. For those of you who are aware, and I'm happy Father Ehusani is here, we are working with a number of religious institutions, because every Nigerian claims that they are religious people. And if you stop them for 5 minutes from going for prayers, they will protest. But we all begin our meetings with Muslim prayer, we end it with a Christian prayer. But in between them, we commit all kinds of atrocities.
On his part, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, who was represented at the occasion by the Permanent Secretary Special Services, Laji Aliu Shehu Shinkafi, called for the revival of the nation's moral values and their quick inculcation to our children in order to build a society that could be free from corruption.
We all know that while growing up, we had, an environment rich of good traditions, norms, values that dictated the societal values. In our days, a child within a community was a child to all. You don't need to be a father to a boy or girl for you to reprimand or to even, discipline him or her. Which is not the case now. If you dare beat anybody's child today, the court will
will hear you. So these are some of the things I think we have to revive and resuscitate, because we have everything in our values.
Other speakers at the event lent credence to the fact that behavioral change was a precursor to winning the war against corruption.
I also believe that in achieving behavioral changes, incentives and rewards play a great role as they tend to reinforce desired behaviors. Tangible rewards, recognitions, or positive feedbacks that encourages individuals to continue or adopt new behaviors have the capacity to drive people towards new behaviors. In attacking failing social norms, too, I believe that enhancing individual capabilities and skills acquired for behavioral changes through training, coaching, or resources to build the necessary knowledge for self-efficiency, self-reliance, and self-confidence can go a long way in improving social values. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, for us as a country and a people desirous of delivering change to our society through building a nation that caters for its people and makes its resources work for the people, we must use behavioral change as a tool to tackle the menace of corruption and failing social values in our country.
I commend the ICPC for this initiative and hope that the outcome will lead to a national reorientation of values and policy redirection towards tackling the hydra-headed monster of corruption in Nigeria. Corruption is indeed a multifaceted problem that permeates various aspects of society and has far-reaching consequences for the development and stability of nations. In our own case, it has been widely recognized as a significant obstacle to progress, impeding the country's ability to reach its full potential. Despite this recognition, certain corruption introducing behaviors, norms, attitudes, and expectations persist within a society, thereby enabling and perpetuating acts of corruption. Corruption in Nigeria has been fueled by various factors, including weak governance structures, lack of transparency and accountability, poverty, and cultural acceptance of corrupt practices. While we have laws, policies, and institutions to tackle corruption, it is my considered opinion that corruption continues to fester owing to prevailing societal attitudes towards wealth, fame, power, and success, regardless of how they are obtained.
So at the core of our existence is the presence of justice. And wherever you do not find justice, you would find the sort of experiences that we encounter in this country. So we don't need anyone to come tell us that with the insecurity that we are facing, with the economic challenges that we are facing in this country, with all the social ills that we have to deal with, they simply depict the absence of justice. So my message today is that we should focus on the justice of every situation. And that we can only do if we decide to imbibe a life and a lifestyle, like Shetima said, that shows concern for your neighbor.
I am a Nigerian, a highly cultured race. My culture abhors corruption, and with my integrity, a new Nigeria is possible. I say no to corruption today to build a future for my children. Join me and imbibe the culture of integrity to build a Nigeria of our dreams.
A major highlight of the day was a robust discussion on the theme by a panel of discussants made up of seasoned individuals and moderated by Maupe Ogun Yusuf of Channels Television.
we are in a society today where perhaps the worst among us are the ones leading, whether in politics or in the economy or in religion. Those who lead today are often among the worst. But in every institution, there are good people. There are good Muslims in this country. There are good Christians in this country, Muslims of integrity, Christians of integrity, who are living their lives daily in accordance with the precepts of their religion. But they are not recognized sufficiently. And we need to reach out to schools, to workplaces, to communities, and pick out these people and celebrate them and show them to society that these are models of integrity.
With respect to governance, we were talking, I think, yesterday, we need to redefine many of the concepts. What is democracy? Who defines it? What are the minimum structure of democracy? And then, of course, you look at how you bring them together. I think there is this fixation that development can be brought off the shelf rather than grounding them in your own experience. And I think we gradually need to begin to ground our development, our democracy in our experience of who we are and, of course, of how we can sustain them.
The second one, which I believe is current, I believe is recent, is that those who are not corrupt, they should be afraid more than those who are corrupt. Because those who are corrupt, they accept that they are corrupt, and they want to prove that everybody is corrupt. Therefore, at the earliest opportunity, they want to rubbish you. And they reinforce one another. Corrupt people they are a network that if you offend one, don't close your eyes, because it is a network.
Prof, when he was making his speech earlier, he talked about the pressure from the society. That is true, because that pressure is not only to the politicians or to senior government officials. Even some of us who are working in the private sector, the fact that you relocate from Kano to Abuja, in your own society, they feel like you are in a position to provide jobs, contracts, give money when you go back for a weekend. Not knowing you're actually struggling to pay school fees for your kids in Abuja, because it's not the same level in Kano or in Katsina, for example. So it's part of our culture.
The problem of corruption can be addressed when we give our attention and rejuvenate the virtues and values that define us as a people. This, in addition to law and order, will bring about the nation we desire, where corruption is reduced to the barest minimum. That's our package on today's edition. Join us every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. on NTA Network and NTA International. Call us on 0800. Call ICPC. You can also reach us on our social media handles showing on your screen. Thank you for staying with us, and bye for now.